Hey YouTuber, what's up? Today we're going to go over different types of airbrushes and what you need to know before you buy an airbrush so that you can make an informed decision and get something that's going to work for you. We'll go over a few of the types, and later in the video I'll leave you my recommendations for airbrushes. That'll be recommendations depending on the type of art that you want to get into. If you've looked around, you realize that there's a lot of different choices that you can make out there, and a lot of different styles of airbrushes, size, needles, nozzles, combinations. All of the airbrushes I'm going to be talking about today are called double action, and the reason they're double action is when you press down, the air comes on, and when you pull back the trigger, paint comes out. The further you pull back the trigger, the more paint comes out. One type is gravity feed. Gravity feed is named gravity feed because, well, what goes up must come down. The paint sits in the top of the cup. By gravity goes down and then flows out through the needle. Siphon or bottle fed because the paint is pulled up by siphon action and usually attached, drawn from a bottle. Due to the fact that the air needs to create a suction to draw the paint through that siphon, it takes generally a little more pressure to operate a siphon feed airbrush than it does to operate a gravity feed airbrush. Guess why this one's called a side feed? The interesting thing about a side feed airbrush is they can actually be fitted to take a bottle that'll hook into the side, and in which case they will work as a siphon feed. They can take a cup that mounts up top and work as a gravity feed, and then cups like this, which are kind of a modified system where they work by siphon, but your paint's right here, so it's not needing as much pressure as a siphon feed airbrush does. The airbrush I would use to do things like one-shot script lettering on a t-shirt, or the airbrush that I would use to paint the minor details in the wings of this bee, or the airbrush that I would use to do miniature modeling might all be different. As you can see, the needles are very small and sharp, so you do want to be careful. Bottle feeds are great if you're going to be using some stock colors. You're going to keep the paint in the bottle, going through a lot of color changes. You put your color in there, you go ahead and spray, and you pull the bottle off, get you some airbrush cleaner, run that through the brush real fast, and then put your other color back on, and you're back in business to your next color. But the downside is that, one, these bottles, believe it or not, really get expensive having a bunch of these bottles laying around. Stock sticker price of that at Hobby Lobby's $5 for that Iwata Big Mouth bottle, and there are cheaper bottles out there. Some work better than others. It gets really expensive keeping up with a lot of bottles, and if you're going to keep your paints in there and you're painting every day, great. If you're going to put a few drops of color in something and change the color, hey, your side feed or your gravity feed is going to be much better suited for that. Also, it's important to remember it takes a little more pressure to operate a siphon feed airbrush, which is not a problem if you're going to be painting something like textiles where you need a lot of pressure to put that paint in. Generally speaking, they have larger needle and nozzle combinations, so you would be able to paint much larger portions of painting at a time. You can get, say, this Badger Anthem here is capable of spraying a thin line, a small thin line about like this, all the way to a wide fat line this wide. The Badger Anthem has the largest needle and nozzle combination of any of the airbrushes I have sitting on my table right now. This one, factory, comes with a 0.5 needle and nozzle combination. I might have to get bottle fed after this video's over if you know what I'm talking about. Iwata Eclipse bottle feeds, or gravity feed and side feed, they come with a 0.35 needle and nozzle combination. There is the GSI Creos here, this Badger Sotar here, and this Olympus Micron here, they all come with a 0.2 needle and nozzle combination. The Creos, GSI Creos Ps 270 is the one that's in my hand right now. They also have the GSI Creos Ps 289, which comes with a 0.3 needle and nozzle. On to my recommendations. What do I recommend? Well, if you are going to be doing t-shirt work or really, really large artworks or even murals on walls, absolutely, my two recommendations are going to be a Badger 155 Anthem, which is an absolute beast when it comes to doing t-shirts and textiles and large artworks, and the Iwata Eclipse HP CS. This airbrush is about $150. This airbrush is about $90. I'll have links in the description for every airbrush I talk about here today in the description below. You guys be able to go and link right to them. Those are affiliate links. You guys know how those work, but you'll be able to click the links and find these airbrushes we're talking about. For everybody else, as a beginner, I recommend that you get a gravity feed airbrush that is a 0.3 to a 0.35 needle and nozzle combination. Speaking of gravity, dropping your airbrush, no bueno. Said, my top recommendation is the GSI Creos Ps 289. This is the 270, but the 289 comes with a 0.3 needle and nozzle combination. Also has the MAC valve built in, and it's currently going for $105. The Iwata Eclipse is the all-time, pretty much favorite airbrush of all time. It's still a great choice, but they are creeping up there in the price, getting up close to about the $160 mark. However, I did find an Iwata Eclipse BS, which is just the same airbrush with a smaller cup. The cup's about this size for $125, so I'm going to link that one as well. Any of the Eclipses, be it this one, or the BS, are going to come with a 0.35 with the exception of the bottle feed that we already talked about. Why do I not recommend the small detail brushes is because when you're starting out, you got to get your reductions right and things like that, and you can still get quite a bit of detail with a 0.3 to 0.35 nozzle combination. You can get quite small detail with that, and they're less finicky to your paints. As your paints have to be thinned even more and more to control them, to be able to work with them, the smaller the needle and nozzle combination you get. All right, guys, I'm Bill Kennedy with W. Leon Artistry, by the way. For those of you that are interested in more information, I'm going to have a little bit more information on the brushes we've talked about already. But for those of you who just want to go ahead and skip on, go ahead and skip on. Before you do that, you might want to click subscribe and hit the notification bell because I have new videos and tutorials on how to airbrush all the time on this channel. I currently have over 50 videos in backlog you can go through as you're moving forward with your airbrush journey. For the rest of you, I'm going to add a little bit more information before we get out of here, and let's get to the next part. The Iwata Eclipse, all of them, come with what is called a floating self-centering nozzle. In other words, this part right here comes off, goes back on, self-centering. And the reason that I like that, if you see that small silver tip right there, that is the actual nozzle. And on some airbrushes, in order to clean that, you actually have to unscrew that out of the body of the airbrush, and they can break. I don't like recommending brushes like that to people that are new, because I promise you, you will clog up your airbrushes. The Badger Anthem and the Badger Patriot both have a nozzle that's very similar to that. The GSI Creos is a little bit different. However, the entire head assembly will come off. So, and the nozzle portion is right there. However, you can go from the back side and get a paintbrush or something in there to clean out that nozzle without disassembling it. Alright, this screw looking thing down at the bottom, what that does is that is what we call a MAC valve. And what that does is if you close it off, it closes off the airflow, and as you open it up, it increases the airflow. So you can adjust right there on your airbrush the amount of air pressure that is coming to the head of the airbrush, which allows you to adjust and fine-tune the air. You will be adjusting airflow depending on whether you're wanting to paint larger or smaller. All right, for those of you that made it all the way through the video to this part, hey, I appreciate y'all sticking around and watching it. If you did, hey, why don't you drop me a comment below and tell me that you made it to the end, or, you know, actually just comment airbrush in the comments down below if you stayed all the way to the end, and we'll know exactly what you're talking about. But we appreciate you guys coming by here. Once again, I'm Bill Kennedy with W. Leon Artistry. We thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. Bye.